Hi, everybody. It's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about passivity. What I mean by that is people who work with zero passion about it. They just go with the flow. They don't care very much about one way or the other. They don't care about a particular feature or game element. Of course, I'm talking about this in the game industry, but bear with me. I have examples of passivity from everything. In many ways, this is going to be the opposite of me talking about passion. Although I don't really have a passion video, it comes out a lot, me talking about passion, in the work-life balance video I made, and I'll link that below. Usually I'm told I'm passionate. I usually don't tell people I'm passionate. The same thing works with passivity. People don't go, yeah, I'm really passive. They just act that way. And I just want to start off by saying I'm perfectly okay with people being passive. These are often the jobs people. If you watch my video on jobs, careers, and callings, which I'll link below, you'll see that passive people, I view them as completely necessary to the process. You want a mix of people on your team, and the jobs people are great because they come in, they do their work, they leave. They are the ones that don't tend to go, I want to question the very direction this game is going, which is okay to a point, but eventually you have to go in a direction, which is why you have a game director. And I was very lucky in Fallout. Fallout was interesting because it had a ton of passionate people, and we all agreed on the same direction. So I'm fine with people being passive. The problem I have is passive people often want to make the problems their passivity causes into other people's problems. And I want to talk about that because I've seen this in the game industry, but I've also seen this in life. I saw this in school. I see it on this channel. And I just want to make it clear, if you want to be one of these passive people, knock yourself out. Just accept, though, where your passivity is causing issues for yourself, and don't make them other people's problems. Let me walk through a bunch of examples of what I'm talking about. Let me give you a couple examples from life. So the first one I want to talk about is I had a big move I had to do when I was in my 20s, where I was moving from an apartment into my first house. I guess I was 29. I asked some friends for help because I had some furniture that I couldn't handle myself, but I tried to do everything else myself. I especially took all like the dishes and glassware and my computer stuff and files and like personal papers, banking stuff. I moved all that to the house myself. I boxed it up, put it in my car, took it to the house, unboxed it into places like cabinets or put them in a closet so they wouldn't be in the way. And then on moving day, it was, here's a bunch of box stuff that's I couldn't handle, and here's some furniture that needs at least two people to like a bed and a mattress or a couch. And I had a truck. A few months later, another friend of mine moved and invited his friends, including me, to help. We arrived. He was still packing. He didn't have enough boxes. In fact, he and someone else had to run out and buy more boxes because they're obviously, he had more stuff than he had boxes for. My move took about 2.5 hours. I remember we started around 10. I had everybody eating pizza at 12:30. Everybody had the afternoon to themselves. My friend, 8 hours later, it was 6 o'clock at night. We were still working on moving him. Nobody had anything to eat. We were super grumpy and grouchy. And he turned it around on us and said, I helped you all move. And when people pointed out that he didn't do anything to prepare for it, he got really upset and said, you guys are just bagging on me. I can't believe you're not helping me. You're not really my friends. Another example is I love playing tabletop RPGs. I'm often the DM, GM, whatever they call it. I like telling stories. I can be pretty impartial on the rules. So a lot of things that when other people tried being a DM, it didn't work out as well. But what was weird was some players wanted to play the game, but would put zero effort in. They didn't seem to realize when the DM sits down at the table, that person has put in a ton of work already. I've had players show up who didn't have the player's handbook for the game we were playing, or even bothered downloading a free PDF onto their phone so they could at least understand, like, here's what character creation is going to be like. They didn't have dice. They didn't even bring paper and pencil. They wanted all of that provided to them. And when other people got upset with them, sometimes me, but often other players, they were like, I don't understand. I'm just playing here. Why are you getting so mad at me? Their passivity became everyone else's problem. And then they were shocked when they weren't invited back. And they thought people were being mean to them. I have a video on this channel about something that happened to me in school. It's called Crunch Part 2, which is a bad name for it. Really what it's about is a project class that I took as an undergraduate, my last year as an undergraduate in software engineering, where there was one project assigned to you the first week, and that was your entire grade. And the professor said, get started on this now, don't wait. Summarize the video. Most of the class waited. Most of the class didn't finish. Most of the class failed. And all of them complained that it was unfair, that there wasn't enough time, that the project was too hard, that their other classes got in the way, all these things. And then they found out there were a couple students, and I was one of them, that did it. And what was frustrating about that class and how it got resolved, although I think they were allowed to retake, was the professor was frustrated too because he told everybody to get started and almost everybody ignored him, figuring they could just knock it out in a couple weeks. It was a 15-week semester, and it took me 13 of the 15 weeks to do it. So I finished up before the end of the project, but I started the first week. All of these students made it not their problem. And they can't claim they weren't warned. They can't claim they didn't know the project was 100% of their grade. They can't claim the professor didn't tell them. They just didn't do it. I've seen this in the industry at all levels. I've worked with coworkers who used weaponized ignorance, is what I call it, to get out of doing tasks. In other words, they got assigned something they didn't like doing. So they pretended that they weren't good at it, or they didn't know how to do it. Or when they took a long time, they're like, look, this isn't my area of specialty. I know at least one programmer that I'm 99% sure he specialized to get away from all the stuff he didn't like. He found something he liked that tended to require specialists, and he specialized in it. Now he didn't have to do all this other code they didn't like. I mean, trust me, I don't like doing UI programming, but I did it in almost all my games, frequently because the other programmers on the team were like, I don't want to do that, or I'm not very good at it. But I've seen managers do this too. I worked with at least one manager who was really picky about how I was running the project. And he kept saying, you need to do this. I can't believe you don't have this. You don't have a document for this. You haven't gotten this set up. Well, while I was working on a project, he got his own project assigned to him. So he went from being like the executive in charge of all these different projects, having his own project. And didn't go well for him. All the advice, all the things that he said we had to do, he didn't do. And then that project failed. And it made me go, he didn't follow his own advice. And then I realized there's a big difference between telling people what to do and then doing it yourself. And that's part of the passivity that I talk about. There are people that know what they're supposed to be doing, and they still don't do it. Which brings me to this channel. I've had a lot of people in comments ask me to do things like teach code, walk through design, going through a design in detail. There are literally hundreds of channels that do that, especially the code one. I don't need to be doing this. There's not only a lot of things that can teach, a lot of channels that can teach you how to code. You can also learn how to code yourself. Also, there are so many free engines out there, and I've mentioned this, free engines with free art and free code samples. And sometimes you can even, for a very small amount of money, buy an entire foundation for whatever type of game you're making. You want to make a platformer? There are games out there, there's code out there that's foundational for making a platformer. Still people don't do it. And that's what I'm talking about. It's complete passivity. They say they want to make games, but they don't make games. What they make are excuses. I have a whole video on that, about how people just like to make excuses. number one question on this channel used to be how to get a job. So I made a video on how I got a job and what would help you get a job. And even though that was dated because I got my job in 1981, making a demo has never, ever failed to be a good thing to do if you're looking for a job. And I talk about that, and still people don't do it. So all of this I'm talking about goes right back to the heart of that. If you're being passive, that is on you. Whether you're doing it at home, at school, at work, in your life, there's so much that you can do. There's so much you're capable of doing. But to do a lot, you've got to first do a little. And you've got to get started. Even if this means doing something on your own, making a little game on your own, making a little demo on your own, picking up Unity or Unreal and learning how to do things in it. This is on you. And no one else is going to handhold you through this. If you need someone to explain the basics at a very, interactional level, then you need to go to school. Then you're one of those people who need school versus being self-taught. I have a video on that. But you need to stop the passivity. If you want to do something, do it. If you're not, it's okay to be passive, but stop complaining about the results of that, your own passivity, to other people. So, wanted to say that because as I'm stepping away from the industry, I want people to step in, and we're going to need some people who are passionate, and we can also use a lot of people who are passive, as long as that passivity doesn't become other people's problems. And that's all I wanted to say.